Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Monday night, 8 p.m. You know where to be. It is the Online Darts Live Lounge. Hope everyone is well. Coming to you from our usual slot. Myself, Jack Garwood, in the driving seat tonight, as Mr. Bars has decided he's too important for us. Joined by Mr. Dan Simpson, as always, and someone with a silly accent from Manchester down below, Mr. Cam McFarlane. Cam, how are we doing, pal?
Not so bad, mate. Not so bad. Always good to fill in last minute, as usual on this.
I mean, last week it was for me, so thank you for that. This week you are Phil Bars.
Yeah, I'm probably not festive enough in the background, to be honest, to say that I'm Phil Bars. There is, should we give? There is. I've got
to draw the line somewhere. Like, he's helped us out again here. We can't just start hurling insults like that around, can we?
That's what I'm here for. If we can't be throwing insults at me, what's the point of me being here? I don't know anything about darts.
Fair point.
How is everyone in the chat room? Let's say hello to a few people that are already... Geez, busy one. Jamie's in. Says it's going to be an interesting live lounge. Yeah, we'll get onto all the topics that you mentioned. Dell's in. Says evening, folks. Bob, one of our members. Good evening, everyone. Tommy's in. Says hi all. Patrick, evening, lads. James Borden, live lounge. What do you want to talk about? Bloody everything. I've just been...
All of it. It's December, James. We've got we've got no limit to the amount of things we can talk about in December.
Yeah, we're going to be here till about 4 o'clock in the morning.
What's up, OD crew? Shelty says evening, everyone. Chris, good evening. Hope you're well, my tribal chief. He's not here. Grow up. Bill says good afternoon. Who is watching Lakeside at the minute and the live lounge also at the same time? Me. It's up on my wall there.
Yeah.
I can't tell you who I'm supporting in this one, but I think you can guess. Warren Zane says evening all. Cam says evening, gents. How was your night in Aberdeen? That was Phil, not us, but yeah, close enough.
Yeah, that's it. The reason he's not here is he's doing all sorts of stuff like that.
I'm watching Lakeside on live lounge. Jake is in. He says hi all. You look at Mr. Bradley. We can fall out. Nico, hope you're doing well, mate. James says evening. Hope you're okay. Just getting things ready for my Family World Champs sweepstake. That sounds a good deal of fun. Paul in beating Moreno Blom. Yeah, well, Lakeside will be on the agenda. Yeah, I was in the Lakeside chat room as well, saying hello to a few guys. We'll definitely talk about Lakeside throughout the evening. But we are going to start with, look, there's plenty of news to discuss throughout the evening. But we're going to start with something that dropped a little bit earlier last week. That is the changes to the qualification criteria for the amateur aspect of the UK Open. I thought we'd start with a bang, boys.
Oh, right, yeah.
You know what? You know, when I look at what we have to talk about tonight, and so often I think I like to think I am an enthusiastic, positive person. I'm always positive. I see the positives in everything. And I was literally going through tonight and thinking, shit. Yeah. I'm going to have to weigh in on that.
Oh, yeah, I was slightly concerned about how early it is, I'll be honest, to be talking about that, because let's be honest, it's a joke, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll start with some personal feelings, and then I'll move towards my more general view on it. Is that I have mourned for years that as someone that lives in the northeast of England, it was prohibitive to me taking part in the UK Open. There was nothing anywhere bloody near me. The closest I could get, I think, was somewhere just outside of Manchester. So 2.5 hours. It's 2.5 hours drive, plus Hewland Park.
Here we meet at night, or yeah.
And now it's even further away. Like, it's so just for me personally, if you live where I live, it is even harder than ever. I think that it doesn't do what it should. I think we all looked at the way the model worked, and if you took the list of criticisms from the way the model worked, there were certain things that you needed to ensure. Like, we know that Riley's is an issue because of their geographical location. You had to look at other partners to try and make sure that you could encompass or give an opportunity to as many amateur dart players across the country as possible. Now, I don't know if it would have been too obvious to see if maybe there was some sort of circuit of amateur darts that exists that we could have maybe looked to in order to start as to where we could qualify this.
You can't start putting logic into it, Dan. Come on.
Yeah, if only there were a circuit of amateur darts that we could have.
It's only 7 minutes past. We don't bring logic to this show. Come on, man.
No, Christ. I just like, and it's not going to be the first time that I say this, because there are certain things, right, and there are certain stories that we're going to get to that I'm just going to sort of, I read them, I read them, and I just had to have a big sort of exhale because it just sort of sucked the air out of me a little bit. And I just sort of thought, well, that's a bit disappointing. That's a bit sad. Like the concept of having to attend multiple events, gathering points backwards and forwards is not conducive to being open to, you know, what a UK Open or what I think a UK Open should be. I think they might as well have just said, well, what we're going to do is qualify some people from the Challenge Tour. Because I think it's just going to, those events are going to be overrun with Challenge Tour players. The idea of an amateur getting through is essentially redundant, I think.
It feels like, for me, like we've just had the actual FA Cup draw tonight for the third round. Like,
big fan of that, by the way.
Yeah, so you look at like Tamworth getting Spurs, that's gone now from the UK Open. You don't get any of that anymore. And yes, it was very unlikely that amateurs got through. Like, it happened very rarely, and generally it was your Challenge Tour players or your ex-pros or people like that would qualify. But the whole point of this event and what it's been marketed as for the last however many years is the FA Cup of Darts. Anyone can turn up and anyone can qualify for it.
Yeah, and I can get drawn against Richie Burnett or something like that. You know, you get that. That's the excitement of going. Exactly.
Like, I spent time practicing with Danny Lauby and like people like that, and just have it beforehand. And like,
it didn't work, but yeah.
No, not for him either. He did actually qualify, so I'm taking full credit for that. But like, that is the whole essence of the event. And you would go there and there'd be loads of local players and people from around that area trying to qualify. And much of it was the day out and a lap. And now your first one's on a fucking Monday.
Well, it is on a Monday, but the issue with the MK and Wigan one specifically are they immediately follow on from Challenge Tours. Yeah, now, these are capped at 256 entries. Those Challenge Tours will have more than 256 entries.
Like, you're not going to get in as an amateur like anyway. And even if you do, like you say, you've got to play all four, or you've got to finish second in a 256 person event. And like you say, it's all going to be Challenge Tour. And
yeah, they're capped at 256. And you already have to be a part of the. Well, you have to sign up to the PDC entry system before you can enter the qualifiers in MK and whatever. Now, the advantage that people might have is if they go into Q School and don't think they're going to get a card or whatever, they can do that now. The line says entries for the PDC amateur qualifiers on January 20th and February 9th are available online through pdcplayers.com, costing £10 per event. Entries will close at 2 o'clock GMT, 2 days before each event, January 18th and February 7th.
Yeah, spoiler alert, there's going to be no entries left 2 days before.
Well, I think you could enter now, is the point I'm getting at. So if you are concerned but want to go to one of these two events and experience it in a PDC setup, this is me trying to put the tiniest positive spin on it before it's overrun by Challenge Tour entries. Get in as soon as you can, because the minute players don't get through Q School and are entering Challenge Tour, they'll do this at the same time.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense. They're staying there for an extra day, and it then acts as a qualifier for them to go and crack on.
Yeah, I just think
the worrying thing about this is I feel a little responsible for this because we've been banging on to them to make changes and how Riley's aren't fit for purpose as hosts of this and don't have enough clubs anymore nationally, and the standard of those aren't good enough to be hosting qualifiers to get into a professional TV tournament. And this is what they've come up with. And I sort of feel responsible for that. And I sort of also go, it feels a little bit slapdash put together. Right, what can we come up with that does this in the quickest time possible? There doesn't feel like there's been any thought into this whatsoever. Using 4 sites to spread it out. Well, using 4 sites to run qualifiers elsewhere, fine. Why couldn't you have done that for another 12 spots? Why couldn't because those 4 venues are PDC affiliated through the Bullseye Mass program or whatever it is, their regional hubs or whatever. Why aren't they branching out? Why hasn't somebody been tasked for a couple of weeks to go and find a venue in 16 different towns and cities across the UK, not just England, across the UK, to spread these out properly.
Yeah,
and go and vet these venues and make sure they've got facilities to host proper qualifiers.
Yeah, it wouldn't take long. Like you could absolutely do it. And like I say, it's for me, it's just taken away the magic of the competition already. Like you are not getting any amateurs getting through now. Like let's be honest, it's no random players local pub league has got any chance whatsoever anymore of getting through, essentially, unless they're going to take a day off work on a Monday to go down to Milton Keynes and then do a Sunday at Wigan and have 4 of the best days they've ever had, rather than just you could have one good day and make it through. And it was unlikely, but it happened and it was possible. And it's essentially like they've just made the FA Cup, right? It's now just Premier League, Championship and League One, and no one else is playing in it. Like anyone from the lower tiers just get fucked, basically.
Because the issue with the other 4 venues are, 1, the locations, but 2, there's pre-qualifying events. There's 2 opportunities to get into the finals to get to them anyway. So you're making these players travel twice as it is. So they're getting 3 days
away
worth out of it.
Wales, aren't they? Like,
well, Wales has another qualifier for God knows how long, and then they go and put 2 within half an hour of each other. It makes sense.
I'm yet to find anyone who can explain it to me in a way that even they think makes sense. Like, changes are needed, but positive changes, though, changes for the better. It just feels like someone's hide a hand grenade into everything this tournament should be. I'm not.
That's my biggest issue with more than anything. It's like I say, it was unlikely that anyone would qualify, but that was the point. It was people could have a dream and go and play, and that was part of the magic of the competition. And if you make it, you get that massive thing of being able to go and play on a pro stage. And now you just can't, and it's gone. And like I say, if you live in Scotland, like what are you meant to do? Like your closest one's Wigan, but if you don't play at Milton Keynes, then it's probably pointless playing in Wigan anyway, unless you go and win the event. And other than that, you can go to Derbyshire, where there's probably 80 people can fit in that venue, 100 people.
There's a singles league in there Wednesday that I used to play from. And don't get me wrong, the people that run it and the people that are part of that venue are all very, very great.
But it's not very big.
It gets very warm from body heat very quickly. It's very compact. There's 3 leagues in there now, maybe even 4. When I started, there was 2 leagues, and it was crammed with 2 leagues and 60 people.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's taken a little bit for me. I love the UK Open, as you two both know. Like, we make it a point of being there in person.
It's the only event we consider going to as a fan. It's the only event we are going to as fans. Yeah. Breaking news if you haven't told somebody, Cam, because we've let it publicly out now, so tough. You've got a busy year next year. You've got a busy year next year, and I'm not sure if you've told it yet, but we're saying it now.
Yeah. There are certain things about that tournament that just make it particularly special. It's the one that we do not miss as fans, and we want to be there. And yes, it's the open draw nature of it. Seeing what that's going to be like every round is brilliant, and it's fun. And the multi-board room is incredibly special and loads of fun as well. But at the root of all of that, is that you can have, you can get a Fallon Sherritt coming from nowhere. You can get somebody, you can get an amateur that hasn't been seen on television before, that hasn't gone and done something. Or, we've seen, or you can get a young player. We've seen some spectacular things this week from 12-year-olds, as I was guided through by some excellent commentary.
Littler went through the qualifiers at 16 on his first event.
Luke Littler, Thomas Banks, Rob Cross.
He wouldn't even be able to enter
through the UK Open. Barry Lynn, the story was through the UK Open qualifier. Fallon playing there a couple of years back was through the UK Open qualifier. She went and won one.
So I don't think Littler Littler at 16 now. Could he play in it?
What do you mean? Yeah, 16.
Could he still? He's still a 16 and over, so he still can technically enter. But
I'm just not a fan. I'm really not a fan. I love that tournament
last year, yeah.
And therefore,
he's the image of it.
Yeah, because I love the tournament so much, I think is why I genuinely like take to heart. You know, I think things changes with that tournament, certainly negative ones, and I just really uninspired, just sucked the life out of it a little bit. The excitement was, you know, we were just started in our little group chat getting excited about going, you know, like starting to sort out logistics and how we're going to get down and who's traveling where and where we park, and in that announcement, just it sucked a bit of the love out of it, really. Just a bit of the romance has been stripped away.
Are we a bit concerned that not just this event, but PDC events in general are starting to lose a bit of their identity? Because we've spoken at length on this show about the Grand Slam of darts in the past. Now the UK Open's made this change that makes it, one, incredibly similar to the new World Masters that they've announced, but two, losing the Riley's aspect. Look, whilst we can sit here and bash Riley's in either direction however we want, the fact that this group of players arrived in Minehead as Riley's qualifiers gave them an identity. You went round the room looking for those red shirts.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't believe that, given the way they've come up with, they couldn't have gone to affiliate venues or allow people to put applications in to host it, qualifiers, etc. That an affiliate sponsor wouldn't have come over the top and go, right, yeah, but if they qualify, they're one of ours. Like, say they've got Village Hotels involved at the minute, haven't they? Or
exactly,
or whatever. Like, one of those would have come over and, right, these are our qualifiers. We'll put some branding at each of your events. You apply to host these, like, and it gives the players an identity within this UK Open once again. Now, like, they're a qualifier, but what are they going to be wearing? Their own shirts?
I'm guessing so.
They just get lost in the room of dart players.
Yeah,
swallowed up by tour.
Just another dart player that's qualified for an event. It's like a challenge to a player making up the numbers at a pro tour, isn't it? That's sort of how it feels at the minute. There's an interesting one. There's a comment in the chat room there, Digital Darts Online, about how it could be the nature of the sport becoming more monetized. Now, I believe, and I think there's a big picture look at that as well, is there in terms of viewing figures and in terms of what people are going to switch on to and watch, do we not want, or would you not want, as the promoter of that tournament, someone like a Fallon Sherrock or a Luke Litter or a qualifier, an amateur qualifier that's come through, and a Rob Cross who's then started beating people? Like, is that not everything that you want your social media people to be able to punch out every day and get
literally nothing better than it?
Surely that is you want, when you run a tournament and you want to, you can't just keep selling tournaments on, you know, the two Lukes are playing amazing, because that's what we have to sell all year round. And so each tournament you have to sell something different. You know, is it double in this one? Or they're playing doubles? It's the World Cup or whatever it is. The key of that one, or one of the big selling factors, besides the open draw each round, is this opportunity that you might be able to get someone two or three games in, and all of a sudden they're playing, you know, a former world champion on a main stage on the TV. And who is he? Well, he's a bloke from Blackburn. You know,
Larry's a bin man. Like,
yeah,
we're not. I just don't think we're going to see these stories anywhere near as often. Like we said, look, I expect the ones that immediately precede a Challenge Tour weekend to be largely swallowed up by Challenge Tour players or those that are expecting to be on the Challenge Tour, etc. The 4 local qualifiers, the local if you live locally, they're not local, are they? But 2 in Wales. Don't get me wrong, Welsh Darts has got a lot of depth at amateur level and semi-pro level. It's not quite translating to the pro level. Johnny and Gezi not playing to their strengths at the minute. But I just worry that left to their own devices, the PDC are going to keep making a mess of things. And this is one of them.
Yeah. I just don't. I don't think it's quite clear that none of us agree with it. But I've not really seen anyone else that thinks it's a good idea. And
it could be that I've missed the point, and this is where I think I would like. And Phil's very good at getting, you know, when he gets to sit down with Matt and getting the detail on the thinking and the theory behind things. But it would be. I would find it really, really interesting to find somebody say to me, like, this is the justification. This is why it had to be this way. and this is the reason why we think it's best: A, for the tournament, B, for darts, whatever that is. Because I've tried every different way of looking at it, and I can't understand why this is a good move. And if it is, and I've missed it, and it's too clever for me, it's gone over my head, I just need someone to explain to me why and what.
Yeah, that's what it needs, isn't it? And like you say, it's just losing the identity of the tournament. And if I hear it referred to as the FA Cup of Darts when we're there, I don't know, I'm just gonna lose my head.
Cheers for ruining my night, Bob. Anyway, moving swiftly on to another announcement from the PDC earlier this week, Cam. And whilst we might not be happy with it being referred to as the FA Cup of Darts, at least you can drown your sorrows with a lovely pint of Foster's.
Yay! Just what we want.
PDC
Someone get rid of my cannabis eye and get me a Foster's.
The PDC have announced a new Ripper partnership with Foster's, part of the Heineken brand, to become a sponsor, kicking off at the Ali Pali in a couple of weeks' time. I don't want this show to just be bashing people all night, boys.
To be fair, I think this is quite good.
I've got no problem.
I've got a problem with it. I've got a problem with it. Like,
the issue I have is purely and simply one of taste. Because I wouldn't wash the car with the stuff.
I don't mind it. If you're going to compare it to things like Carlin and Coors that are of a similar level and
price bracket, but
I think it's probably the best one of a bad bunch. But I think it's great for darts in terms of getting these sort of sponsorships and bringing people in. I'm not going to bash this one whatsoever. I actually think this is a great move for darts. And Gob's clearly got a point that he's waiting to say up at the top because he's got some issue with it. So yeah. I'll let him go on and let him say what he says. But
before he does, where I know, because I think I know where it's at, but my one is slightly different. So I'll leave you to it in a second. But what I think is, whereas I couldn't understand, and I genuinely can't understand the UK Open, the theory behind it. This one I completely get, because when I was, when you're at Ali Pali and when you're at venues like the UK Open and venues like the Winter Gardens, and you've got these huge, big expanses of fan zones, like the fan zone at the Winter Gardens is a huge room that often looks and feels a little bit sparse. You almost want more. Like we've got the little village hotels game, but like we want more for it. Same with the UK Open. There's loads of opportunities in my head to have more for the fans to interact with. I think they're a brand that do that type of thing well. I think they're a good brand in terms of sort of their, what's the word I'm looking for? In terms of an alcohol brand, they're the closest thing to Paddy Power in terms of their socials and the way that they promote themselves a bit tongue-in-cheek and not too seriously and things like that. I think they're a really good branding match for someone like a Paddy Power if you are, and I'll tee you up here, if you are inclined to partner with an alcohol distributor.
Yeah.
And that's where my issue comes with this, is that they've gone to an alcohol brand after all the time and effort that they and the BDO and the WDF and basically everybody involved in the sport has gone through for the last 20 to 30 years to clean up the sports image and to have this clean-cut look on TV. Basically, Heineken are coming with a shitload of cash and PDC have gone, all right, we'll drop our trousers for you.
But like, the point here,
don't get me wrong, people aren't naive enough to think that alcohol has completely gone from the game. They're not.
No,
people like us have sat here and ignored people, not ignored people, but we've played the game, and plenty of others have done this, where a player rocks up to a post-match interview absolutely smashed out their face, and we might sit here and go, "Oh, they've had a practice or whatever." We're not gone. Well, he's fucking steaming, isn't he? Which he is. Yeah. But like, turn him back to an alcohol at the first chance of showing that there's some cash involved. But for me, I think you've missed the point.
They're not going to put cans of Foster's on stage.
We're not going to put cans of Foster's on stage, but there's a good chance you get a Foster's logo on a sleeve, or it's going to be visible in the background. Now, look, everybody knows the Darts fans rock up
it's
getting
already
pissed,
sold
but
as
the
the
Darts
biggest
fans already need
party
to
in
behave
Darts.
themselves.
No, but it's already sold as the biggest party in like the biggest Christmas party you can have. We all know that going to the Darts is seen as a massive piss up. Like, as a fan, that's what it's there for. And in the venue, that is what it's sold to be. And it's meant to be the best Christmas party, it's meant to be whatever. That is where this branding is. This branding is nothing to do with cleaning up the image of the people playing it or whether they're drinking or not. This is all about fan engagement and what people want when they go to the Darts.
Having the bookmakers.
What they could have done, knowing that who they've partnered with is the Heineken brewery, not just Foster's directly, is have the Heineken Zero logo as front and centre of this.
No, it's shite.
It is shite.
Bored of all sports doing that now. Like,
yeah, but look, everybody knows how you get around it. It's the same way as us saying, "Oh, they've had a practice," but it still doesn't undo that work. It doesn't undo that association. And I think this is a step backwards a little bit. I think this is a bit dangerous. Look, it's brilliant that a brand the size of Heineken are getting involved with the sport. But there's a very fine line with how they promote this and how they push this.
Well, the thing is, and I don't think I would be very shocked because I don't think you will see at any point, and I'm happy to be, you can save this, keep the receipt if I'm wrong, but I don't think at any point you're going to see a PDC Tour card player involved in a promotion for Foster's where they're stood holding a can of Foster's saying, "Come on, guys, let's play darts." Like, I don't think you're going to see that at all. I think
this is purely a fan thing.
I think it will become, the official drink at venues and certain events, and there might be offers on. And I think you will see things within the fan zone in the same way that we do with, because we have official partners for, hotels and for gambling and again, like I think you have to be careful sometimes where you pick like what is and isn't okay, because why would it be okay to have a betting partner but not a partner that's involved in alcohol? And I think that as long as that line remains clear that they are they're a sponsor first and foremost, and that they are primarily aiming their partnership in, let's be honest, they want to sell Foster's to the people in the venue. And they want to sell Foster's to the people at home. They want people to see their brand and logo and be associated. They also know that there's going to be, darts is the second watch sport on Sky Sports. And over the course of the next month, there's going to be an awful lot of people tuning into Sky Sports. And everything else that you see on Sky Sports has alcohol sponsors. Yeah. Alcohol sponsors at the F1 doesn't mean that F1 drivers are getting pissed off.
Well, to be fair, though, that's another one where they've gone to this 0% bollocks with the sponsorship. The same with the Six Nations is Guinness Zero now rather than Guinness. Like, it's nonsense. Like, why are we just trying to put this image forward of everything's got to be 0% now? Like, if people want to drink, people want to drink. And whether it's Guinness branded Zero or Guinness branded Guinness, it's the same. Like, I don't understand why we need to try and make things something that it's not. And maybe that's just me because I like a drink and I think that the Zero branding looks crap compared to normal branding. But like, it's like they're trying to push an agenda that doesn't need to be pushed. If people want to have a drink just because they're advertising Zero on the telly rather than the proper one, they're still going to buy 24 cans of Guinness. My only view on it, I think it's a very positive thing. My only view is if we are going to see it more in fan zones and we're going to get drinks offers and things like that, I wish it was a drink that was slightly more palatable. That's my only real view.
Well, fan zones is an interesting point in this as well. Like, for, say, the Premier League, there's no way all 16, 17 venues all use Heineken as a supplier, surely.
Yeah, but you don't have a fan zone at the Premier League.
No, you don't, actually. There's not actually really any room to put one in most of the venues. Because
there are arenas. So where you've got fan zones is you've got a good setup of a fan zone at Ali Pali. You've got a good setup of a fan zone at the Match Play.
Because they've got huge other rooms that you can use.
Yeah. So you've got the Match Play
So I get Ali Pally because Ali Pally is a pop-up bar. The match play have a fixed bar.
Yeah,
So
No,
if
but
they're
they've
not
got a
Heineken.
separate- They've got a separate room that is the fan zone, where you've got your merchandise
Yes.
shop, your village
Yeah,
hotels, your bookmakers is in there, your
It's where
food
Phil
is in
Taylor's
there.
ladders are, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's a huge,
Yeah.
big, empty room that you could put more things in. You could accommodate a Foster's stand, more than a Foster's stand.
Yeah.
You could accommodate a specific Foster's bar if that. And again, all you're doing that with is on an agreement with the venues. The Grand Prix's got a big fan zone.
Leicester's, yeah.
Both of the events at Minehead have got a really good opportunity for that. And if they're not, some of them, yes, they will be tied into contracts for their supply and other different things. But I don't think for Foster's, it will be about selling ale in the venue specifically. It will be about raising awareness of their brand and making sure people.
I get that. It's just a bit weird if you're pushing Foster's and then all of a sudden everybody's walking around with £8 pints of Amstel.
I suppose like
weird
on the
logistics.
telly at
Whereas
least.
actually, if you've got a Heineken brewery in there, they'll push Foster's as their session lager. But what you might then be able to do if you've got an acquired taste is drink Heineken.
Yeah, but what they could do and what they can do, because they obviously all drink out of plain plastic cups, just put it all in Foster's branded cups in the venue.
That's illegal.
It's definitely not.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Yeah. Yes. There's a reason Wetherspoons use plain, non-branded glasses, because if you serve a drink in the wrong glass to the wrong person, they'll get done for it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, that's
Okay, we
passing
can't
on.
do that then.
Dan knows that as a man who has interest in a pub, that is against the rules.
I'm also.
It also happens in every single pub that you go in every day of the week, but
yeah.
No, I think I view it exclusively as a positive. I understand that there are people with strong views on alcohol, as there are people who have strong views on gambling, and they don't think it should be associated in any way with anything, with sport. But I think that's it's a personal thing. My view on alcohol is fairly famously known. I'm a big fan. I don't think that this partnership is my personal view is it doesn't harm in any way the view of what darts is as a sport, and I don't think it unpicks the work that's been done. I'll be interested to hear wider views on it, because I understand. I also appreciate that our views on it are quite close to the sport and the operations of things, and I think that 99.9% of people who interact with the Foster's brand in a dart setting won't have that closeness that any of us have, and won't really care. They'll just notice that there is a new sponsor, and I don't think that they'll really think too deep into it.
Yeah. Matt Sim from MDA says, just a quick one, where's Bars? I mean, you asked that question a minute ago. Bars literally replied telling you he's in Holland, but yeah, he's in the Netherlands with Luke. He's a busy man, is Philip. He had 1 day off, and that's now gone out the window because Paddy Power. Have they announced this yet? I'm not breaking anything, am I?
probably.
Were you about to make an announcement that Phil Bars had a day off? Is that
that was the biggest.
It has been announced.
Regardless.
6 hours ago, the Paddy Power are set to officially end the debate on which is more difficult in sport, a 9-darter, a 147, or a hole-in-one. They're matching up 2 golfers, 2 dart players, and 2 snooker players for a period of 2 hours, and making them compete to achieve any of the feats.
I am a huge fan.
2 dart players we're going to get.
Luke Humphreys and Michael Van Gerwen, I believe.
Right, okay.
Who else have we got? Have we got announcement on the golfers and the snooker players?
Well, hopefully it's not the best 2 in the world from either of those sports, or it's not fair, is it? It's a completely null experiment.
Where's it gone? Do we have official list of players?
Like if they've got some snooker players, if they've got a snooker player who's ranked number 2 in the world and he's gone one shot away from a 147 about 17 times this year, and he's not selected, then it'll be fair. Oh, that's why. Yeah, of course, Phil. Well spotted.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why they can't use the most likely person to hit a 9 data.
Surely
Doesn't
they have to use Sean Murphy, who claims to have done all 3.
Sean Murphy's claim is a bit like Sean Murphy's commentary.
Yes, it's very questionable.
I'd rather just ignore it. Jarliff's in the chat room. Hello, mate. Which actually is a brilliant time to remind everybody that this time next week, I won't be sat here. Daniel won't be sat there. Cam might very well be sat there, but it's completely up to him. But this show will be coming to you from a live setting. Myself, Dan, Jar, and Phil, as a minimum, will be in Ilkeston at the Prince of Wales pub. Chris
I may well be there as well. I'm trying to sort it with work to get down.
With a short ass. For the annual Live Lounge Live, our big Paddy Power World Darts Championship preview show with a couple of special guests lined up for the evening. We'll have more posts on social media throughout the week. So make sure you keep your eyes on that. If you do want to come, just drop us a message on social media. Let us know you're popping along. No official event or anything like that. But yeah, if you are popping along, just let us know so we can keep a rough eye on numbers. It will be live streamed, has it yet? Similar to last year. But we've got some improvements in equipment. We've got some improvements in production. I'd love to say we got an improvement in host, but
I
actually, Dan's going to be. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
I don't know about that. But
Arzy's going to be in front of the camera was where I was going with that. But yeah,
yeah, we have got a new host this year, and it's ridiculous decision. But it is actually going to be me to allow you lot to all talk a little bit more and add your expert punditry. So I'm actually going to be given the steering wheel to steer the Live Lounge. It was without, in terms of, I've been very lucky this year in being able to do some very fun things with some very interesting people in darts. Last year, it was without a doubt the highlight of the year. It was an absolutely superb night. Loads and loads of fun. We had some really, really excellent guests. Like we had some people that had genuinely travelled. You know, the Joker, John O'Shea, travelled over from Ireland. John was with us all night. We had Luke Littler with us. It was an absolutely superb night with some really, really good fun, great people, and I'm very, very excited to run this year's show.
It certainly will be a moment of reflection as well. Like Anthony's in the chat room, who is Luke's dad as well. To consider the journey that young man has been on, he was already absolutely smashing the world as darts at that point, but the difference in Luke from that interview then to how he is now in front of a camera and what he's gone on to achieve in that year will be a nice reflection, as well as what we've done as a team and the improvements and just the general chit-chat around the sport as well. We will struggle to get Luke to the Paddy Power event now because it's Xbox time apparently, which I absolutely love. I don't want to shoot him down, but Ginge said he's rubbish at COD, so he needs to work on it. When I was with him yesterday at the Super Series, not to do him in like that.
He's a FIFA man, though, isn't he?
He is a FIFA man, indeed. Up next on the agenda, then we'll stick on the PDC for now. We'll get that done for a bit, then we'll move away. Then we'll go back to a bit more on the Worlds. There's not too much to say on this one, I don't believe. And I'll be honest, I haven't heard much about this, but Phil's put it on the running order, so we're going to have to talk about it anyway. There's reports that Netflix are a big contender for the rights to PDC darts. What do we think about that one, boys?
Massive if it is the case, and obviously that's probably a long way to go and a lot of conversations to go to get it there. But the fact that we're seeing shows like Sky have put out now this week with the sort of behind the scenes show as well, there is obviously appetite for it, and we've seen what they've sort of snuck into boxing with the Jake Paul fight, and they fancy obviously moving into sports as well, which we know is the biggest watch thing there is out there on television. Like, shows that are great, but the things that attract big audiences are your big sporting events, and if they can get their hands on it and it is possible, then it's huge for the sport, because that is a lot of eyeballs that no one else has access to.
Well, I think that so that I know it's not the most popular topic of conversation, so I'll gloss over it very quickly. But just to highlight a point, they've recently, Netflix, taken over all of the WWE programming, like everything. Their weekly shows, their big pay-per-view events, everything now will be included in your Netflix package. Which, whether you like it or not, is a $1 billion industry. That is, regardless of whether you're into it, you can't argue how much how big it is and what it generates. And Netflix have
just to interject 1 moment. I apologise earlier for calling you Phil Barscam. It turns out Dan's taken on that role tonight, but carry on.
Not a problem. And you also and they have, again, they've got the same parent company as the UFC. So you don't know whether that at some point is going to end up, when various deals come up for renewal and things like that. They are clearly entering a space where they don't just want to take on, bits and bobs of, and again, controversial sporting content, but let's say, sports that is entertaining. They clearly want to move to think, because let's be honest, that wrestling was on Sky Sports for an awful long time anyway. So it's things that have traditionally been within that Sky Sports sphere and TNT and BT Sport that Netflix are looking like they're in the line for. Now, I would be very, very surprised if Netflix were in for something and some of the other very big players didn't have a dabble as well.
Well, there's rumours of Amazon as well, who sports coverage has been fantastic. The way they cover football is brilliant. Tennis has been brilliant, and various other things like. And look, they've certainly got the money. We've seen the reports that Sky, as a business, have been bleeding cash for the last couple of years. Investments into Sky Glass that hasn't really taken off has been a bit of a killer for them. But like people in the chat room are saying, darts is the second most watched televised sport in the country. And that is largely down to Sky Sports' audience and the PDC. And I'm a bit wary of breaking up that partnership for, say, for the sake of 20 million. 20 million is a lot of money. But
in terms of...
very wary of just breaking up something that isn't broken.
But do you see... if someone said to you, right, it's going to be on Netflix from next January, well, just arbitrary date. If someone said that, what would, do you have a negative, is there something you could say, well,
yes,
that won't be as good, that won't be, what's the negative of that, do you think?
I think the negative is the accidental traffic. Right.
Go on, you're gonna have to expand on that.
Over the Christmas period, if you have a Sky subscription, people that are flicking through channels looking for something to watch
end up watching
and accidentally end up on darts.
Yeah.
They can go hunting for it. A football game can finish. They can stay on that channel. They can go on main event. All the darts is on. I'll turn over to that one. You don't get that with Netflix. You don't get that with Amazon Prime.
No, you have to go and...
You specifically have to go and hunt out the darts on a streaming service. The same with DAZN. A lot of stuff on DAZN. DAZN's audience, if it was available... they've got a couple of channals, but if it was available...
You don't have any anymore.
Channels or whatever... is easier to access if you've already got Sky as a platform, because actually as a tool to view TV, lots of people in this country and beyond have access to Sky channels.
I'd be really interested to know what the broadcast rights would be for public areas. So we literally today, I went to the pub before I came on this, and the Sky Sports bill has arrived, right, which is... it's a big day in the month when the Sky Sports bill arrives, because if you have legitimate Sky Sports in a pub or club, it is very expensive.
Network as well. They move glass around,
but it's very expensive, because what you are paying for is the rights to show that publicly in your pub or club. Now, what I don't know is, and obviously it's way far down the line before we can start to get some of that information, is if you have a pub or a social club or wherever you've got, and you want to show the darts, as we are very much looking forward to doing the pub this Christmas,
How does that work with Netflix?
How does that work with Netflix? Because I know these discussions have been had when the sport has been on Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
And then various other different things have been through different streaming channels. And it's not clear. Now,
no, I assume there will be a new, if it happens, there'll be a new deal that comes out.
Yeah. When it's a novelty. But what I wouldn't like to think, as someone that had to read the Sky bill for the pub today, is that on top of that Sky bill, which I guarantee you won't go down at any point, you know, at no point is Sky going to write to us and say, sorry, lads, we've lost the darts. We'll just let you know. Like we've put that down. That's not always the case, Daniel. Like, I know it's probably a thing in some places and in lots of environments, but it's genuinely not everywhere. I promise you it's not. And it would irk me somewhat to think that we then had to pay some sort of premium subscription to another place.
Yeah, but you will. Like, you absolutely will have.
It does just start to add up, you know, because you end up paying for that, and then you end up paying for the race, and then you end up paying. And
you pay for BT, TNT as it is now.
And then you have to start to look and think, well, because I'll be honest with you, darts, in my opinion, again, darts is one of the most watched sports in the country on Sky Sports.
Yeah.
I do not think there are many of those people who go to the pub to watch a darts match. Not in the way.
Trying to find venues that will show in the darts for the next 3 weeks in pubs is going to be a nightmare, because it is on in some, but actually if there's anything else on, if there's an F1 race on, or there's multiple games of football on or whatever, and you ask them to put the darts on, they look at you like you just shot the cat.
It's people watching darts at home. And so then our pub's going to pay a premium for a service that shows the darts when they'll
if that's all it's got at that point as well.
Yeah, if that's all they've got.
Because you're not sticking like Christmas films on, are you, on your Netflix account in the pub? Like,
no. Anonymous in the chat room says Netflix has a recommendation engine. It says we think you'll love this. It does, but you still have to. Like, if you've got a Sky box or
nothing that
whatever,
you've watched on Netflix that will
you
tell
turn
you
it on and you go to
like
the TV guide, don't you? You flick through that. Putting Netflix on as the first thing you go onto on TV is a decision. And you have a conversation going, should we see what's on Netflix? I don't know anybody that turns the TV on and puts Netflix on straight away, unless you've already had discussion on what you're watching before you turn the TV on. It's just a simple little trigger, but yeah.
Yeah, I think until we can have a really proper conversation about it, I think we need to see what, you know, where it goes and what. Like I've said for a long time that I want one of two things. Is I either want a channel on my telly that I can turn to, and I can turn a channel, you know, 404 or whatever, and I watch
that obviously doesn't work either for the people, because there's a reason that DAZN got rid of theirs. Like,
yeah, or I want like a full bag of mashings, like network that contains. I want to be able to not only watch all the darts that's on, but I want to all of a sudden decide to watch the 1997 UK Open final, and I want it to be available to me. Like I think if you go to a online based, app based,
you want to take everything to it
solution, then you want to take your video archive with
like
you.
Darts Gold and all the
Yeah. And you want that available as on-demand content, because then I think, oh, you've actually got some value in that product that I would happily pay extra for, because I'm not just paying to watch the live darts, I'm also paying for your archive, because the moment you do that, you then, and other people have done the model, UFC did it really well, where, you know, they have this environment in which you can watch, you subscribe, but you can watch all the new stuff when it's on live. You can then watch the repeat of it the next day, you know, it becomes available to you. But at the same time, you've got that archive of all the things that have happened. You've then also got a place to put all of your non-sport content, you know, your documentaries, your behind-the-scenes stuff. You've got a place where you can stream and people can go and watch on catch-up all of your affiliated tours. So you can watch the Asian Premier League, because the timings don't work for us over here.
Yeah.
I can watch the Asian Premier League at my leisure. I can watch Anthony and the boys over the pond in America and the CDC. If you give me that, you're like, that's my dream. It's the best thing that could ever happen. I just don't know whether.
No,
I don't know whether that's what we would get as part of a degree. I know that's what the WWE move to Netflix involves. That's not just their live content. That's their video archive. That's you going into a section of that app that clicks WWE. And then you've got the catch up, all the other little affiliated things around the world. You can watch their stuff, all the on-demand stuff from history. Like if we get that, that could be mint.
I think this is a point though, and it will set the sport back massively. Like if it goes anywhere other than Sky. Like,
I think
that is definitely right on boxing as well. Like the casual boxing fan watches a lot less now than they used to.
100%, but it didn't go to
the same with the darts.
But I think that the only place you could say that doesn't apply is Netflix. I think because you give me a household, I could go out into my close of here. I could knock on everybody's door and ask how many people have got a DAZN subscription, and they'll all just shrug their shoulders and go, "Oh, what?"
Yeah.
And I could say, how many people have you got a Netflix subscription? And whether they're 17 or 75, they'll go, yeah, of course they have.
Yeah.
Is that Netflix subscription count still as high after they made their changes on account sharing that didn't need to be made?
Because technically it's probably slightly higher now. But
the price up, told you couldn't account share, and then gave you a feature where you can pay more to account share again. I was like, I'm already paying for 4 people to watch at once. What the fuck do you think I was doing with it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the only way I boxing to DAZN, I said it like I was very vocal on it immediately. It just pissed me off, and continues to do so. Darts on DAZN would do the same. I think the only way that it goes to a format like that, is if it's Netflix. If it can't just be on a TV channel, Netflix, I think, are probably the only people that could properly pull it off.
Yeah, there's a lot of people have an issue with Sky, and the main issue is how much it costs on a monthly basis, and that they've had everything for years, so people didn't like that. The point is that they are still the best by a mile at doing everything.
And I
get more eyes than anyone else.
That up on screen as well. There's one more point to make on as a plus for Sky, Ed, and there's a couple of little tangents to go on as well. Like, if Sky lose the darts, do we lose the impact of things like Sky Sports News, which is still very widely watched? You walk 100%. Into a lot of pubs, you might not watch darts constantly, but you might see a clip of the majority of darts events now, or reporting on the majority of darts events. Now, part of that is Luke Littler effect. Part of that is the sport growing. Do we go back to Adrian Lewis just won the World Championships as a push notification, as a one-off that we got 12 years ago now, or whatever it was?
I
aren't covering it. Would it be a bit bitter going, actually, you stitch us up for the rights here, so what we're not going to do is give it as much attention on our news channel? Or, like, the point was Sky aren't the best, but their ability to advertise and promote beats any other app company. There is a lot of football on in this country over the next month. And what a lot of those games of football will do is tell you there's darts on that night. What Netflix aren't going to do is let you finish watching the Polar Express for the 12th time and go, do you fancy a bit of Luke Littler?
Yeah, there's just
it's just not going to pop up that way, is it? Like, it isn't the same thing. It's not
even the Paul Tyson fight, until like the day of it, it wasn't really that accessible to find details of it on Netflix.
But everybody that wanted to watch it got to watch it, didn't they?
Well, when it didn't go down.
I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm by nature a very lazy person that doesn't like change, and I in an ideal world I'd still have my Comcast box. I quite like that. It was good. Made a very, very satisfying click when you press the buttons, and I'd still, it would just be on Sky Sports. It excites me, the idea of having something like a Netflix whereby I can access instantly more darts content, and I can have a quick look at, what happened in an event 3 years ago, or the last time. I can watch last year's final before I watch this year's final of an event. Yeah. Having the idea of all that on-demand content being available is very intriguing to me and quite exciting. And that to me is the.
But then you don't want a Netflix. You just want a subscription service, like we speak about
PDC TV.
Not
the
big
Premier
enough,
League,
though, is it?
etc. No, it's
Not
it's
big
not.
enough to
But
sustain
also,
itself.
the death of subscription services is subscription services. Because a lot of these guys, their unique selling point was they were one of the first to do it. And now everybody wants a slice of the action. And now you've got this is why Fire Sticks are so popular. Look, a lot of people in the chat are going, well, most people are going to watch it on this anyway. The reason they're popular is because you have to spend 40 quid a month on Sky, plus 25 quid a month on TNT, plus you now need an Amazon Prime subscription, plus you need this, plus you need that. The beauty of all these subscription things was it was meant to be you have one. Yeah. And now you've got choices to make, or you're spending £100 a month to have the lot, to have Amazon Prime TV and Netflix and whatever else on the go. And this just adds to that. And adds to that issue. Look, don't get me wrong, Sky ain't perfect. I'm not sitting batting for them. I've never had Sky in my life. I've watched plenty of darts, but I've never had Sky in my life. Right? But
that's because you asked me for my Sky Go login.
Yeah, because my Fire Stick ran out last week and I had to wait a day to renew it. But I think the death of TV is coming, and then the death of these subscription models are coming, and just a lot of people. I agree with a lot of people in that there's so much in one place with Sky, and that's a bonus. And I think keeping darts in a place where there is so much is a bonus.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, and the thing is as well, even me, as a darts fan, and I like to think that I'm as big a darts fan as the next man. But I will often find myself flicking around channels when the darts is on, because there will be weekends where there's darts on and there's a football match that I'm waiting for some corners in, and the boxing's on, and this is happening, and when all that is happening between Sky Sports and TNT, it's very nice to just be able to flick with a remote. When you've got to get in and out of streaming services and different apps, you just have that. And again, it's first world problems.
It's a minor inconvenience, but it's one that really pisses me
off.
100%.
Like you can't even tune in like on adverts, can you? Like on ad break, just dip in and out. Yeah,
it's literally like when you click into the app. And then it's like, I've got to click this button and then this button. And then I've got to click on that. And then it asks me whether I want to watch live or from the start. And then
you get 4 adverts because you joined late anyway. ITV Player is one of the worst for that. If you close ITV Player, you've got to watch 4 adverts. And then it might come back to the middle of an ad break.
Oh, mate. So it's all off topic, but I was travelling last week. I had a few nights in a hotel. And I was watching a programme over a couple of nights. So it was like a 3-part thing on 4 on demand. By Christ.
Oh, God, there's so many adverts on it.
I'll never use 4 on demand again. Every time you pause it, an advert comes on the screen. You have to close down that advert to unpause the thing and press play. And then there's an advert at the beginning. And if you go for a pitch, you've got to watch another advert. You think, Jesus, I get that you've made this app free. But by Christ, are you trying to, score points on me out of it? And it is that, I am lazy. And I want things to be as convenient as possible. And
that is exactly why I pay for them all. And I don't want a stick and I don't want anything else. All
I want is the darts, the football, the pop, anything else I'm flicking between. Ideally, no more than 2 or 3 channels apart, so that I can literally.
And I just know which number I'm clicking, and I'd click it, and it's just there, and it's on.
Aside from this, there's 2 ways to go with this. First of all, we can talk if the darts does leave Sky. Let's do a bit of a fantasy talent lineup, perhaps. We do this quite a bit, and people ask us who our favourite commentators are, etc. We could pick our dream team to start afresh for the PDC. 1 host, 5 1 host, 5 others. However, 2 of those others have to be what you class as the ability to lead comms. So not necessarily a former dart player.
Okay.
I.e. Dan Dawson.
Yeah, so essentially you're having your 2 leads, someone that might be a former to go alongside them.
So your leads are traditionally your stud, your pike, your rolling.
So work this out.
Dawson, Murphy.
So hang on, tell me what we want.
1 host, do we all agree that wherever it goes, we'd like Emma Payton to remain as the host of Darts?
Yeah, I think Emma's been mint.
Would we break the bank for David Croft? What a shout that is!
Oh, I thought we were going to break the bank for Dan Simpson.
You'd have to break the bank and also.
I know.
Get me to walk
You're not doing it for Emma's money, are you?
If you're going to get me to walk away from a public sector pension, you're going to have to start adding zeros to that check.
Most of it's night times and weekends, Dan. You'll be all right.
Yeah, well, right, hang on. I reckon 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm absolutely sticking with Dawson as one of my leads as well. Like, not even a question on that.
I've got my 5 commentators easy.
Go on.
Now, the only problem is I'm going to come in for some stick is that they're all male.
That's fine.
But
we support.
If you want to be a sexist bastard, you be a sexist bastard and you put whoever you want in there.
Right. Dawson, Durrant, Murphy, Mason, Nicholson. That's the lineup. That's the A team. Dan Dawson, Glenn Durrant, Chris Murphy.
I want Dawson. I want Nico. I'm putting Nico as my lead, even though he's a former. I'm quite happy to have Nico lead it because he's good. And then I want. Who do I want? I like Webby. Yeah, I'd have Webby in there.
Although I'd happily step in for any one of those 5.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Probably not
Dawson and Nico leading, Webby, me, and Jack Garwood as your other 3.
But
you were excellent, by the way, on your little clip on Sky Sports Twitter the other day, Mr. Garwood.
Not just
surprised you're on here after that. I thought you'd have been just.
It made Sky Sports news today.
Did it? Oh, you were excellent on there.
I think I could come. I mean, those 5, I'm pretty solid on. Like, I would want those 5 as part of a bigger team because of what each of those 5 can. Because I think they all bring different things between them. And 3 ex-players, 2 non. Well, I'm sure they've thrown a dart, but you know.
It's like it's turned into bullseye, this, hasn't it? Got 2 players and 2 non-players.
Yeah. But then I think what you have to then do is you need a bit of. You probably need.
Is 5 too limited? That's typically the size of a Sky team for a week. That's where I pulled that number from. But if we say we want Emma to be the host, like I'm going to be the first to say, Dan just left Wayne Mardle out. I still put Wayne Mardle on any broadcast I possibly can.
Yeah, it's the iconic voice of Darts at the moment, isn't it? Like,
is it just a case of rotating and using the talent better and building?
I think you could probably have 8 and not have them do as much work, which might actually give you better content.
But you also have to, as well, if you can expand. You know, that's 5. Like if I've got 8, then Mardle probably gets in, Webby probably gets in, and
wrong one.
It's not going on the screen, Cam.
No, I click. There was another comment as I tried to click it. Fully agree with this. No Simpsons films or wrestling from Nico.
That's
if I'm in charge, that we're not having that.
But I also think you have to do some succession planning in there as well, and you have to look at whether you've got to into an 8, bring in somebody like a Matt Edgar. Abby could, Abby's not done a great deal of the, if you like, Sky Sports big matches. You know, she's done loads of comms and done them very well. But in terms of the people who haven't done as many, if you like, big games on telly, I think you need like an Edgar and an Abby Davies and another as a bit of succession planning that you can move in and out of the team. You have to have that as well. You have to have some succession planning. You have to look at what happens. when the thing with darts commentary is they're not getting poached, so you haven't got to worry about someone coming in and offering your best commentator loads of money to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Because you haven't, and like on a sport like football,
with the presenters, but not with anything else. Like Crofty's been pinched.
Yeah, but that's
Emma's been abroad to do. Is she doing Mosconi this week? Or have I made that up?
I don't know. You've been watching more of that than I have.
Sure, she did something earlier. We've lost Woodsy to football and whatever else that she's doing.
Being a no, I'm not going to slander her on it.
I feel like it would be. It's not a risk with your commentators, because you haven't got 3 or 4 huge broadcasters all competing for people to commentate on darts at the same time. Generally, it's either on Sky or it's on ITV, or there are people that do both, and because you can just be offered a contract, because they're not fighting against each other. They're not going against each other the same weekend. It's not like football where you've got soccer Saturdays going on and you need somebody in every ground and you need people all up, and then TNT needs someone and Sky needs someone, but also the BBC needs somebody there and everyone else. Then there's the radio and everything else. There isn't that level of competition. So therefore, it can't help. Unfortunately, because of that reason, it can't help but become a little bit stale sometimes.
Yeah, that's a very good point from Simon. Jackie, we've missed Jackie off here. We've absolutely gone 100% with keeping Emma, but I'd have Jackie Oatley on there all day long. And
do you know what? I have to give an honorary mention, because he gets some stick in this chat room. But Ned Bolton does an unbelievably good job. If you watch any Pro Tour cycling, any of the major tours, he does.
Well, I'm quite happy to leave him at the cycling, to be honest.
Yeah. And Ned was the inspiration for the 3 of us doing our podcast section last year on the drive from the Premier League in Exeter to Minehead, which is exactly what Ned does after each stage of the Tour de France. And the podcast is great as well. He's very, very good, but I don't think we see the best of him at darts, I'm afraid.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If you've got anyone coming in and you're going to bring anyone in from other sports, they need to know about the sport and they need to learn. Like, Adam Smith is one of the great boxing commentators that there has ever been in this country. And he obviously came over to darts for a period of time. And yes, the voice is still iconic, but because he didn't have the full knowledge, it didn't work as well for me. So they've got to fully buy into it, or they've got to already have the knowledge.
Drury used to be a half-decent darts commentator. Just one to unpack. The other thing that I was going to go on a slight little tangent was, which is probably more relevant to the rights discussion that we were having, where would this leave ITV? Does that deal remain separate? Does that section of events remain available for bidding from traditional terrestrial?
Depends on the time scale,
channels, or are they going to couple it all together? Because look, we can speak about the ability to just flick through and find the darts on Sky, but actually having a couple of events where it's available to absolutely everybody free of charge. Look, it's not on terrestrial TV anymore, but free. Everybody's got digital TV from the switch over a few years ago. Free view as a minimum can watch ITV4 for the cost of nothing. That is incredibly important still as a tool to grow this game. Look, BBC might want back in at some point potentially. Do we think they're going to stump up anything? There's rumours that they're increasing the license fee next year, but they haven't got
anything that we want to
cash
watch
to hand. Where do those rights go? Channel 4 branching out, maybe?
They could all go to the same place, which wouldn't be great, but it's not something that will be covered under any sort of legislation. That it's something that needs to be there for the country, in the same way that Wimbledon's been kept for a long time and all that sort of thing, where there's a list of events that have to be on terrestrial TV. Darts is not part of that. So
I would like to think that whilst we might not get it through the national broadcaster, through the BBC, as much as they do delve into my direct debits every month and help themselves to their license fee and produce, let's be honest, questionable content from it. I don't think that the BBC would bring darts back. I mean, God, Christ would be good, but I think it's vitally important for the future of the sport that some events remain on free-to-air television, regardless of what that is.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what it was. You could stick it on anything, but as long as some events remain on free-to-air television, but I do think that's very important, because otherwise, how do people fall in love with it and then decide to take out the Netflix subscription because of it? Where is people's? When I tell people at work about this thing that I really like to watch and say, you should have a look at it, there's a great game on tonight. Where do they go? And I say, oh, go subscribe to this. Or can I say, well, this one's on ITV, it's on BBC. The interesting thing as well is, like, for the first time in quite a long time, we've got a darts player who, whilst if you look at the bookies odds, may not come away with the big trophy. But we do have a darts player who's at Sports Personality of the Year this year, which is a big BBC event, biggest thing of the year. It's where the BBC focuses on sports. So we are going to see on the BBC almost a piece, a produced piece of content about darts. And somebody, I think, when was Phil Taylor?
AP McCoy runner-up 2013?
He was a runner-up.
Roundabout then, yeah.
He was nominated a lot of times, wasn't he? He was often in the list of nominees, and then was a runner-up one year, I think, towards the back end of his career.
2010, he finished second. 14.
But we've also got, don't forget, so whilst there is a Sports Personality of the Year competition, I believe there is a Young Sports Personality of the Year as well. The same person can win both, but I think that it would put an awful lot in one of the BBC's annual flagship shows. There are a few shows that the BBC flagship does once a year, and it's like Sports Personality of the Year, Last Night at the Proms, Eurovision Song Contest. There is a few once a year annual Royal Variety Show, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we are going to see, but in two categories, I assume, this year, darts being heavily featured, which will be very interesting.
It still won't make them put any money into it.
It's my money, that. And yours.
And mine.
I don't watch live TV. No, I'm joking. I definitely do.
Jack Howard just shuts the door when the people
they've got those vans, They can't go back at your house.
We have two different ways to go now. Would you like to discuss the thing that's on my wall or the news that broke today?
I think we're going to have to discuss the news that broke today. So let's do that first.
We are, but actually, no, let's go the other way. I don't know why I've offered you there. Because off the back of broadcast deals, we can discuss the broadcast as it currently sits. Now, look, the fact that this tournament exists is good. The fact that everybody can watch it is good. I think the actual pictures of the darts has been really good.
Yeah.
From showing dart in action, spotting and directing is not the easiest thing in the world to do. They're going to miss the odd dart that happens on virtually every single dart.
Probably been better than the PDC's been for a bit, to be honest.
I know he's spotted. He's solid. That part of the broadcast has been very, very good.
Yeah,
I think Dan McCarthy's been excellent on comms. He's been propped up by other people. Lau from Weekly Darts Cast, Andrew Sinclair, Raymond Smith. I thought earlier in the week was very, very good on it as well. The Australian former Super Series champion.
Yeah,
that's basically the positives.
Yeah, the rest of it. I
can't fathom out of everything is how you can continue to make the same mistakes you made last year.
Yeah,
I can.
It doesn't make any sense at all. There are so many people sat there that have even volunteered to do it for absolutely nothing, to just sit and moderate that chat room. Why is it even not? You knew how much issue you had with it last year.
Yeah.
You ended up putting a moderator in there on your own accord.
You let you in it for a start.
I'm important. Go away.
But
The abuse and stuff has just been so unhinged in there. Things like titling the streams correctly, running the test stream as a live feature, which, all right, we got to see Garen Roderick hit a 180, and they've done pretty good press out of it for ref does this on a test stream. But it's embarrassing their test stream was public.
Yeah.
God.
Like,
I can't. I'm so glad that the Live Lounge Live is next week because I need some positivity after this. I just feel like it's sucking the life out of me. But I just the problem is, and it's a repeated, ongoing problem. If somebody said, Dan, put into a sentence the problems the problems with the WDF, sum it up. I would say that every single time we have there is something goes wrong or a criticism or something, we always reflect on how long we've been saying this, how many times it's been mentioned, and how the same mistakes continue to be made. It seems that they are completely, like, they do lots of things very well. They do lots of things very well, but they seem completely unable to, like, this sort of like think, do, check, plan, like that cycle of like understanding what they're doing, learning what's gone well and what hasn't, and then intervening to make some sort of change to improve it, does not exist within their organizational structure whatsoever. Like, their operational plan does not involve, did that go well? How could we do it better next time? It completely doesn't exist, which is why it's boringly repetitive, whereby we say the same things are good, the same things are not so good.
Yeah.
Isn't it frustrating that we say the same things all the time? Don't make it easy for us. Like, we believe, contrary to many people's beliefs, like, we do not like to sit here and like rag on stuff. Like, we would much rather sit here saying, "Isn't darts amazing? It's the best thing in the world."
It's tough to sell that point today.
Don't make it fucking easy. Like, don't make it easy for, like, don't make me have to think about. Just don't make it too easy for me to point and go, "Oh, fucking hell, not again."
Yeah, it is, and it's almost like they've just gone. Last year, they've just sat there and gone, that would mean that. Yeah, we've done really well, though. We'll just do it again. Like they've not seen any of the criticism of it whatsoever, or don't realise that people want more than that from it.
See, if that's the case, like, I've just read that from Chris there. If that is the case, then I hold the WDF responsible for that, and it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah,
like, and
it's not the only person and I'm not, there's been multiple instances throughout the week of lots of people being hammered for it, for whatever. There was people talking sexually about players earlier in the week and all sorts, and it's just bang out of order, and it needs somebody to sit there or remove the chat. Now, the thing is, done properly, a chat room can be a fantastic tool for engagement. It really can. Ours is proof of it. The Super Series one, look, it takes some work to manage that Super Series one. Sometimes people are dickheads, and sometimes people need booting out. But eventually, you can get to a point where actually people know what's expected. Your regulars come back. You build up a nice environment and whatever. And if people don't like it, get them gone.
Yeah,
that isn't going to hurt you at all.
But it's not.
You need somebody sat there watching it. The fact they're splitting streams across two different channels, Blaze or Great Game and their own, doesn't make any sense. Especially as I don't think Great Game had enough numbers in terms of viewers or anything to be monetized anyway. Their own streams must be getting pinged left, right, and center for copyright because they're still running walk-ons as per usual over a stream on that. No idea how they're getting away with it. So why are they then running ads?
Yeah.
They've got ads turned on. I've got premium, so I don't see it. People are like, oh, ads on a match start. Why are you running ads if you're getting pinged?
Well, it's just fucking basics. But like for me, if that's the way that people can watch it, if the way you watch that show, that game, is by going onto YouTube, but there is a chat room next to watching that game that's just filled with racial abuse, then
I cannot understand why, as an organisation, you would allow that to happen.
No, you just turn it off. If you've not got, if you don't want to pay someone to look after it and moderate it, then just turn it off.
Safeguard. Why on earth would you Why would you allow your players to have things like that said about them on your platform?
All I can think is they don't even look at it themselves. Like, they've just got no idea that any of it's going on.
It's a joke.
Or they don't care, which is worse.
It's a joke. And again, like, if so, I'm sure somebody will call me out again for just being like negative on the WDF. But in which case, I just point them to whatever that is in the chat room, like whatever is being said in the chat room. And if Dieter Hedman's playing and people are saying things like that in the chat room, then I'm happy to go in with both feet on whoever's allowing that to happen. Yeah, it's a fucking
100%.
joke.
100%. Like I said, the problem is, though, it is putting a negative spin on what is a positive. Some of the darts have been very, very good. Not all of them, but a lot of the darts. And the fact it's still early days in the tournament. Look, it started Friday. We're only on to Monday now. We're still in round 1 and round 2 of some of them. I know people have said, oh, it's annoying that it says last 64 when there's only 48 players in there. That's a Dart Connect thing. The scoreboard is produced by them. It's tops. They don't have the ability to do top 48 as far as I know. It's top 64, top 32. Shane McGurk has been the best back-to-back 90 averages, solid. And do you know, the thing is, Chris said it himself because he was there yesterday. Despite all this, I am moments away from buying a ticket to go and watch tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Because I went last year and I thoroughly enjoyed myself. And the people behind the scenes, for the most part, have done a bloody good job in getting this tournament on again and doing all the things. The worry is their broadcast and that side effect of the broadcast and the chat room that's going along with it.
Yeah, exactly that. Like, in terms of the event and being there, like, my mate went last year, said it was great. Said that really enjoyed it as a place to go. Like, that's not the issue at all. Like, it seems like there's no issue at all, to be honest, in the venue. There's
I've not heard
anyone there's no one whistling and there's no one.
Everyone is said, I think the games are being played in a very professional way with a crowd that's enjoying it, and I've not heard any negatives about the event and the way it's being run in person. It's that ridiculous stream.
Big Johnny says that being on YouTube should be a win. And look, YouTube isn't easy. At times it's not easy to understand, but at times it's also not difficult. And when you've had a year of this, and there are people in that environment that are interviewing that know how to run a YouTube channel, that are behind the scenes that know how to run a YouTube channel or a podcast. But these are such simple little things. Do you know how easy it is to turn the chat room off?
Jack, I don't know how to service my boiler, but I know it needs servicing, so I'll pay a plumber to do it. Yeah. It's not about like you don't need to be the expert that knows how to run the YouTube channel. Like, you just need to know that it needs doing. And then you have to make sure someone does it. That's like, it's not. And again, I don't buy this. Like, well, they don't know how to do this, and they haven't got this particular skill. Well,
either pay someone to do it or just turn it off.
Yeah, like, so you sit them in a room and you say, do you think that your players should be subjected to extended abuse while they're playing? And if the answer is no, that they know that, so do something about it. If the answer is yes, I think that's fine, they probably shouldn't be doing that job, should they? Like, it's fucking stupid.
Yeah, completely agree. Marcus, I don't agree with this one. He says they need to bin off the afternoon sessions, can't sell any tickets from barely anyone can watch it. That then increase their costs, because every afternoon session you bin off is an extra day they've got to find in the evening. Yeah. And this tournament they can fit in a Friday to Sunday then becomes Friday to the second Sunday, because they've got to find all these extra sessions once again to get these games done. So it's not quite as easy as that. And we've had this discussion about other things as well, like why isn't the seniors on BBC? Why isn't this on there? Why isn't this, etc.? You can't go to a broadcaster and force them to take your product.
No, exactly. It's
the WDF can't turn around and go to ITV. You have to show our product twice a day for the next week and a half. It just doesn't work like that. In an ideal world.
Otherwise, this show here would be on TV, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know where. Babe Station or something, I would have thought.
Well, I don't know.
You got it. Flaunt it.
I'm not sure they get away with putting us on.
Anybody to take it. And the fact there is TV coverage coming at the end of the week should be a positive. But the issue is, by the time you get to that point and get to that level, there's still too many mistakes being made along the way.
Agree.
And that's
That's the long and the short of it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It comes from, and again, it
is a
from
criticism, but it's also like it's a rally call.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah,
your shit line.
it comes from a place
pull
of
off a great event.
It doesn't come from a place where we're sat here going, that shit, don't ever do it again.
Yeah.
It comes from a place of literally like, please be better. Like,
Yeah.
we all want this to be better. We all want it to
As
grow.
darts fans, we want it to be better. As darts players that have qualified to be there, that have worked their asses off for the last year, 2 years, etc., they deserve it to be better.
Yeah, 100%.
Agreed.
So
They
please
deserve
be
to
better.
be seen. Like they deserve to be seen by as many people as possible in the best light as possible,
And
and
not be abused
given-
while doing it.
and not and not be subjected to disgusting abuse while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Correct. Right. I'd love to say we're moving on to more positive
news,
things,
but we're not.
but there is
Oh.
even more news to
Oh.
discuss.
God!
Barzy's like he's never going to let me host again, is he? But he's stitched us up truly.
Yeah, I honestly, I
He's
swear to
done
God,
it on purpose. He's not even in Holland, is he? He's sat at home just laughing at us.
he's sat at home with a bunch of tulips and his clogs on, thinking of Holland. That's like,
Yeah.
Windmilling.
yeah, I've never felt more stitched up in all my life. This is the most, and again, I'm clinging to the fact that next week we get to go to Ilkeston for the Live Lounge Live because, God, we're getting all of this shit out of the way
Yeah.
tonight.
I can't wait for a pint with you on Thursday, Dan. Jesus, like.
Right.
I'm not going to read the full statement. I think a lot of people have seen it online, or this is directly from the DRA, but news broke earlier today. The Darts Regulation Authority Disciplinary Committee has delivered its decision in the case of Leighton Bennett and Billy Warner. Both accepted numerous breaches of the DRA rules, including match fixing. Bennett has been suspended from the sport for a total of 8 years and to pay £8,123 in costs. Warner has been suspended for 10 years and to pay £8,123 in costs. That's a lot of years, boys.
It's a lot of years. My immediate reaction was that it felt a lot of years. It felt like possibly from what we've seen in the past and what we've seen other people get. And obviously there are differences in every case and you can't sort of compare one to the other. And some of them have fully complied with the investigations and helped out along the way. And others haven't, which it obviously states that he didn't in this case as well, didn't Leighton. But 8 years makes me think we never see him throw a professional dart again. Yes, he'll only be. It'll only be 28 at that point. Like, but you had that many years away from professional sport. You're gonna have to go and do something else. You're gonna have to go and get a day job. Do you ever come back to it? Quite probably not. And if you do, it won't be at the same level.
I genuinely think, and I get, and there's a lot of very, very strong feelings. Like, and the feelings are quite. I'm not going to argue with them. What I think is, and I think there's something wrong with you if you don't think this. I think it's all a bit sad, you know.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's why I felt it's a lot of years.
And I totally buy this. You know, like should have known better. Like should have known right from wrong, and all this thing. And you do, you know, if you've done it and you get the punishment and you've made the choice to do it, and I get all of that and I understand it. But I genuinely think that if you take any joy or have any real other feelings, then God, it's just a bit sad that someone, youngest ever youth champion at 13, like when he took that card, when he won that card, the tour card, I truly believe that he thought he was gonna be, you know, up there with Luke Littler in the next 3-4 years, and that they were going to be these. I think he'd watched what Luke had done and thought he had that game. He could do he could reach those heights. He'd beaten Phil Taylor at 14 years old, and he was the heir apparent as the next young thing. And I think that the fact that his career is where it is now is very sad, especially if you like darts, because you couldn't argue that when he was on form, he was a pleasure to watch play darts. He was lovely to watch. And some of the stuff he did was absolutely superb. I have no real argument with the punishment because I do subscribe to the, I think he made bad choices and there are consequences for bad choices in every aspect of life, whether it's professional, whether it's, you have to also think like it's an 8-year ban. And so people will say, you'll say, all right, well, he's a professional sportsman, he's this, that, and the other, right? So as a bit of context, now I do try and think about how these things would affect other. So like, 8 years is a bit harsh, right? So he's a professional darts player, and he has done something that has broken all the rules, and he's had to be banned from professional darts, right? If he was a teacher, a policeman, a nurse, a lawyer, doctor, any of those professions, lecturer, if he commits an offence where he breaks all the rules of that profession,
he'd never work in that profession again.
He's struck off. If you're a teacher and you break the rules, you get sacked for gross misconduct and you are struck off as a teacher. You're put on a list of people who can't be a teacher. If you break the rules as a police officer, right, and you break the law as a police officer, you lose your job and you lose your pension and everything else, and you don't get 8 years and then you can go back and be a teacher again or a police officer again. So you could look at how breaking rules like that affect other people with professions that they've studied for. You can be a lawyer, go to university for 7 years, qualify as a barrister, make some bad decisions like someone's done here, and you don't get an 8-year ban and you get to go and be a barrister again. That's you done. Done. Over. Game over. Go and work in a shop. So
yeah, there is that, but then
to breaking the rules and getting an 8-year. Well, there's other professions where you break the rules and that's you done. Go and get another job. You have transgressed against this profession in a way that we can't have you back. So there is context, because this isn't something where it's dart and therefore it's somehow incredibly harsh and it's not the real world because he's got a really big. But in lots of professions, that's his profession over forever. Yeah. But it's sport.
We also see it in sport, and we see bans of less than that, and we've seen it. I
agree.
And
I'm just trying to provide some real world context to when people make bad decisions in relation to their job.
Yeah.
I just want some context.
Harry's gone literally where I was going to go there, essentially, which is, yes, he did go to prison. He went, I think he did 6 months, something along that line, or was sentenced to 6 months. But he also got banned for 5 years from sport, and that ban then got reduced as well, and he didn't actually serve as much as that. I think it quite possibly was something like 2.5, 3 years that he served in the end as well, which I think I think I'm with you. I find it sad, and I find it sad that we see someone's career ended over a decision he's made at an age as young as he's made it. And I know everyone's given it the age is irrelevant. I don't think it is. I think at 18, I think there should be a little bit of leeway on that you're going to make bad decisions. And yes, he should absolutely be banned, and he should be banned for a considerable period of time. But it feels a little bit steep. But there's also, it's not the only thing he's ever done, which probably hasn't helped.
Leighton seems to have given himself a bit of a reputation, even at a very young age. That's not really into the question here. Look, it's pretty obvious who I work for, so I'm just going to read the statement that they posted to social media earlier today. Modus Super Series welcomes the decision of the Darts Regulation Authority in the case of Leighton Bennett. We are fully supportive of the outcome and hope that the severity of the punishment will act as a deterrent against future offences in relation to betting and match fixing. Modus Super Series works tirelessly to ensure the integrity of our event. Everybody involved and the sport of darts is protected. We are regulated by the DRA and governed by their rules, including those relating to anti-corruption and betting integrity, as is every player that appears in the Modus Super Series. Further to this, we've invested considerably in a betting integrity and anti-corruption module, which every player completes before appearing in the tournament. This provides education and a subsequent exam to ensure that it has been understood. Mobile phones are also forbidden during the hours of play. The integrity module is also completed by every person whoever has a professional engagement with the Modus Super Series, myself, the referees, anybody that works in the gallery, production team, etc. Every player that plays in the Modus Super Series also signs a contract acknowledging the DRA rules, including those in relation to gambling, and are made aware in no uncertain terms that gambling on darts is forbidden by anybody involved with the product in any capacity. It goes on to say, we're incredibly disappointed, frustrated, and infuriated that despite these thorough efforts, a small minority of players have chosen to break these rules and have been found guilty of breaches in relation to betting integrity. We fully support the investigations of the DRA, Gambling Commission, and any criminal proceedings, and condemn in the strongest possible terms the perpetrators of these breaches. In addition to any punishment enforced by the DRA, we also have concluded that the guilty parties will be banned permanently from appearing in the Modus Super Series. While these incidents are disappointing, the punishments are correctly severe and represent an anti-corruption system that is working, with 99% of players understanding and following the rules, while the small minority who have broken them have been investigated, caught, and punished. We will work closely with all our partners to ensure this process continues, and will strive to do even more to discourage the scourge of betting integrity breaches and corruption. These investigations show that anybody who chooses to breach the rules are caught and punished accordingly. All associated with the Modus Super Series are fully aware of what processes and reporting procedures to follow if they find themselves compromised by criminal approaches, and where support is available if they experience problems in relation to gambling. In the knowledge that all of this information is provided to and acknowledged by everybody associated with the Modus Super Series in any capacity, we will continue to take a zero-tolerance approach to any breaches of betting integrity rules. Statement ends.
Yeah. Pretty much all you can say, really, isn't it? It's what you've got to say in that instance. Like,
I think the only thing, and again, it sounds like I fear making myself sound stupid by saying this, but there is a slight positive in the fact that they've been caught. Because if nobody ever got caught for this, I'd be highly suspicious that the systems and measures that should be in place to catch people
are not in place.
I'm not working. If someone said to me, God, it's been 5 years since anyone's been, it's been 5 years since anyone's match fixed, I'd think, no, it fucking hasn't.
No, exactly, yeah. They 100% have. It's been 5 years since someone's been caught.
Yeah, I'd say your systems of catching people are wholly inadequate. That's what it is. So I genuinely do take, as strange as it might sound, like a slight positive in the fact that people who've been doing it have been caught, because it demonstrates that the systems and processes and checks that should be in place are in place. And when people do transgress, it's being captured, which I think is a positive, because none of us want it in the game of darts. Nobody does. So the fact that it's happening, let's just accept that human beings aren't infallible, and every now and again, one of them will do something fucking stupid. That's, we encounter them every day. Every time you get to a roundabout with more than 3 lanes, you will encounter a human being that will do something stupid and make. I
think you're being generous with more than 3 lanes on that one, to be honest.
You'll find a human being that will make the wrong decision. Now, the fact that we've got a system, although there is a system in place for humans making bad decisions, and that we capture that and they are identified and the right procedures are there to do that, then I think that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
Yes. From the negative to the positive, let's move swiftly on to that. And Hazzy just said it here, Modus on Pluto is a positive note. It was announced on Saturday night that the Modus Super Series has signed a deal with Pluto TV. It is a free to download streaming service, no subscription. They do run ads throughout, but it basically just gives you the choice to tune into whatever you want to. There's channels such as CSI New York, right? And you basically just watch episodes of CSI New York on a TV system.
That's me not watching any more Modus. I love a bit of CSI New York.
Yeah, but yeah, the app is free to download. It's free to watch. You never pay a subscription fee, but it's basically there's kids TV channels, there's reality TV, there's that sort of thing. But the Modus Super Series is moving to Pluto TV in the near future. Don't have an official start date as yet. But if you're watching today, you can see the branding's gone up in the studio. It's very yellow. Very yellow.
I think it's a massive positive. You know, Pluto TV, a lot of people might not have heard of them. They're owned by Paramount, who are one of the biggest companies on the planet. You know, they're part of the Paramount group, you know, along with CBS and some other huge platforms, MTV, Comedy Central. You know, they're all owned by Paramount. I've got one of them Amazon Fire TVs, not the tablets or anything, or a Fire Stick, the actual telly, and it's been like sort of feature advertising. You know, you turn the TV on and Pluto's there integrated with the smart TV system and everything else. So I think it's massive. I think it's really, really good. Certainly the amount of coverage that they've talked about, you know, it being so many days a week, say it's 6 days a week, 50 weeks a year. Was it Jack? Is that the...
So the Super Series runs 6 days a week, 50 days a year. This channel will be live 24/7. So there will be something to watch on the Super Series programmed into a TV schedule 24 hours a day. Now, whether that will be highlights from a previous session, whether that be content that perhaps exists on YouTube or longer form content of interviews, of highlights of individual player performances, of things like the influencer events that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, Luke Littler documentary, all of that sort of content and more is going on this channel. And what that also does is give us a wider scope to go out and create more content in that format. It's for TV now. It's not YouTube. How many clicks can we get? Start with a thumbnail, work your way back for a title and see where you can get with it. We're just going to produce excellent quality content to the highest level of production that we can get. Like, I'm involved in the social media team there. Some of the ideas we've got, I'm not telling you, I'm not spoiling them in case someone pinches them, but you get the point. Like, there are serious conversations on now about what content we can make and what level we can take that content to. And that's going to be a welcome addition to the fact that there is still 6 days a week live darts in a normal fashion and that sort of thing.
Hugely positive, like really, really. It's nice to get to some good positive news this week. Like really, really good. Very impressive.
On that as well, I was fortunate enough, Cam mentioned it earlier, there's no way I was getting through this show without talking about it. It was there. The Red Dragon Influencer Darts Showdown Championship yesterday was a real success at the Live Lounge, packed out crowd. The 8 players and 8 influencers involved were superb, but one, man stole the show. 12 years old, Jaden Walker was outstanding yesterday. Those of you that watch the show quite regularly, I spoke about him a couple of weeks back. He beat me 4-0 in Southampton a couple of weeks ago. That was the best tenner I've spent in months. Mid-90s average. It lasted about 7 minutes. The kid's an absolute phenomenon. I was a bit worried at 2-0 down that maybe it had got the better of him a little bit, but then he pins a 79 to take him to 2-1 and the 145 to get him level, and then his favourite double 15 to win the first match, and then they go and do it again in the second match, and then they win the bloody final. I'm like, oh my word.
Yeah.
Special.
And there is, aside from the event, there is a follow-on here as well, because obviously we've just spoken about Leighton and what a prodigious talent he was at the age of 13 and how many more kids are coming through that. But what Leighton didn't really have from conversations in and around and various other ways of communicating is a solid enough support network. There was no real JDC at this very start of Leighton's career. He was part of the early part of Jaden. The JDC was part of Leighton's career.
The later part of his...
So he'd already developed some habits or had the fame at 13 and been around a lot of people, etc., that perhaps had started to lead him astray from that early age. Jaden is in the Southampton Academy. I know the guys that are working on that. It's fantastic product. He's also backed really nicely. He works a lot with Tommy Morris as an inspiration, and Scott Mitchell is having a key influence on him through Dorset as well. There is absolutely no way on this earth Scott Mitchell allows that kid to turn into a knobhead. It's just not going to happen.
Well, that is highly, highly important. You know, I spend quite a bit of time around very young people playing darts, and it is highly important that they aren't allowed, you know, to develop egos that are going to be detrimental to themselves.
Yeah.
And that they just retain some, I don't know, I think just base level. I mean, Luke Littler is a perfect example of a kid who has had the exact right influences around him that he's needed at every stage of his darting development, and has been guided in the right way. Like, it was, you know, a year ago this week, we were able to sit down with him, as you know, I had a pint and he had a J2O, and you can tell very quickly when you talk to him, and you know, when you talk to him without a camera on and you just have a chat with him as a young lad, that he has got people around him who can aid in very wise and sensible decision making, and I think, but I think,
but he also has a personality as well. Like, what we're not saying that people have to be absolutely on it. You're not allowed to do this from the age of 12. No. You're never allowed to go out and have fun. You're never allowed to. There's people around that allow these characters such as Littler and Jaden and others to be characters. Like that duo that I mentioned of Tommy Morris and Scott Mitchell are going to be perfect for Jaden, for the reason that Tommy Morris is a character. He has a personality. He's got his Tommy Gun celebration. Like, Tommy Morris will bring out a character in Jaden, while Scott Mitchell will teach him how to do things the right way.
Keeping him in line. Yeah, exactly. And
they're not the only influences. Like, I met Jaden's parents at the weekend. They're a fantastic influence. Like, they're really supportive, etc. Like, there's just good people around them. And not every child prodigy that we see in the next 10, 15, 20 years is going to be that fortunate. And it feels a little bit harsh to comparing them, but that's a good example of why we're sat here when we've said maybe there's too much influence of manufacturers signing kids up too early and too much, or this guy's an ex-Luke Littler, this guy's an ex-Luke Littler, that I can sit here and say everything I've seen in this one example is how to go about it. Is how to give this kid the opportunity at 12. I've not spoken to him. I've not spoken to his family. I don't know. But can you imagine the smile on that kid's face this morning that he's walked into school telling people that he was playing darts yesterday with Angry Ginge and was on Sky Sports?
It is the responsibility of everybody within darts to make sure that you know, that these kids are protected is the wrong word, because it feels like they're going to come to some harm if it's not, you know, but they are allowed.
It is harm, essentially, isn't it? Like, you then go and get
that they're allowed
8 years for doing something stupid because you didn't have the right people around you telling you not to be a cock. Then it's.
But you also have to. They also have to learn and understand. One of my concerns is that there is a, you know, every wonder kid on Championship Manager. You know, people now think that they've got the next Luke Littler on their hands, and when they aren't the next Luke Littler, you know, because how many times did we hear, you know, someone's the next Phil Taylor? No, you ain't, son. He's going to do it 10 more times. Like, you know, it's not going to happen. And what I don't want to see is, I don't want this expectation to be too high on players where they you know, you have to get to 17 and you have to win the Premier League. And well, if you haven't won it by 19, it ain't going to happen, is it? Like, because we've now got a factory of young players coming through, and soon. And I don't want us to get into that cycle of pressure, and then, you know, this like, you know, like football wonder kids, you know, if they haven't done it by the time they're 20, then they're on the scrap heap, and they'll, you know, and then we move to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Not everyone's going to do it at the same age or the same speed.
Exactly.
You can be as talented as you like, but sometimes it might take you longer to get used to playing up on a stage or playing or whatever it might be. But it's about making sure that when it doesn't go right, that you don't lose faith in them and that you don't, like, get rid of them, or they lose that support system because no one wants to be around them because they're not all of a sudden the next Luke Littler, they're just another darts player at that point. It's about making sure that the right systems are in place to support these people throughout, because that's what it is. It's not, at the end of the day, there's still human beings. Like, that's what we need to remember. It's not, these aren't just robots throwing darts. Like, they're just normal people. And at 12, 13, 16, 18, like, you are not well placed to make the best decisions for yourself at that point. Nobody is. And you need people around you that are going to do that, and not just tell you that you're the best and tell you this, that, and the other, and sort of back you when it's going good, but just be there for the shit times and the bad times, and tell you when you've made a wrong decision, but still back you because of it.
I'm still not
where darts is slightly better than football, though. Like football, if you don't make it, you get cut for an academy, like you can go and play something pro, but you have to go and get another job. Darts, like, there's a couple of really good examples in the chat room. One, like you said, Cam, you don't have to make it at 21. Peter Wright played his best darts as he turned 45. Gary Anderson's 50, playing some of the darts of his life. Going Price's 40 odd. Van Gerwen's approaching 30. Completely different end of the spectrum. Like, there's been such a variance in age of winners. And yes, the sport is getting slightly younger, but also you can go and compete at the age of 50 plus. Steve Beaton's only just given up his tour card. Richie Howson is possibly throwing the darts of his life on the seniors tour for the last few years. Like, there is that ability to go and do those kind of things later in life in the sport as well. But actually, Keane Barry's a good example of a really solid young player who, at the minute, is making a half-decent career out of being a dart player, but hasn't done a great deal as a pro.
No. Yeah. But he's still got so much time to be able to do it.
And this sport is going to continue to grow. As well, look, we've been critical about the fact that the world number 80 probably can't afford to live off the income they're bringing in purely from tournaments in the PDC. But there is a hope and expectation that we get to that level one day. And if you're not able to do that, then there's a solid amateur system where the likes of, look, you can call it amateur in inverted commas, and this is at the top end. John Henderson's earned nearly 100 grand this year just in ranking it in TV events.
Yeah, at that point, it's not amateur, is it? But it's, I know,
Super Series and whatever. Plus, he's got things like exhibitions. Like, the more this sport continues to grow, the more opportunities there will be at that level as well. And that's a good thing. And like we said, it's about getting the support networks in place, and things like the JDC are a really, really good place to start with that, because it is coaching on how to play darts, but it's also coaching on some of the JDC boys that go and play internationally at things like the World Cup, get to practice media opportunities that you wouldn't get anywhere else otherwise, and the mental side of the game and the support of it that way. And I still think there has to be an encouragement for a lot of these guys to go and get a proper education as well. That can't ever be lapsed on.
What's missing
is,
and this is where, and I take everything you say, and there is, and I don't want to detract away from the good works, because there are so much incredibly good work that's being done, like with young players in darts, really, really good stuff. But I do think that this is where the sport suffers from not having a governing body that will mandate it. Because when you've got football, so you talk about football, they release players every year. Well, there are now, and it's ever improving, and people are campaigning for more, but governed and mandated by the FA is how they can put systems in place for educating children that are within an academy and what they need to do for their education while they're in an academy. But beyond that, the support that needs to be put in place for them when they don't make it, when they're not, and without a governing body, without someone who oversees the sport effectively, you are reliant on, in all honesty, the goodwill of good people. And we are very lucky that within places like the JDC and various other sections, we've got good people that do good things. But if you did have a governing body that was structured in a way where they could oversee the sport, you could mandate some of that, and you could make some of that support that was put in place essential. You could say that you aren't able to play in these things if you do not attend school. If you toss off your exams, then you don't get to do this. And I'm a big supporter of that, as much as people think it's a silly, archaic thing to insist upon. But I think that's one of the things that is lacking. When you see sports with a effective governing body, they're often very good at managing that youth level stuff.
Yes, they are. Right. 3 minutes to 10.
I've just been absolutely done by a text message rather than a comment in the chat. But when we mentioned about putting us on telly and it being Babe Station, so we mentioned that Babe Station's 2 tits and not 3.
Harsh but funny.
I'm pretty sure we've got 2 on the show tonight.
All right, yeah. Which 2 are we having?
Well, I'm sober, so I'm going for you two. Look, Phil has been in the Netherlands. He's working away, making sure we've got plenty of pre-World
I swear we should have put a sign up the amount of times.
Yeah. I might just turn my camera off and we can just put a box there that just says, not Phil, he's in Holland.
Phil Bars is in Holland. He's gone to have his clogs re-shoed before the World Championship so he can cheer on Michael van Gerwen.
Yes, indeed. Good point from Bob, by the way.
He's killed once a year.
Earlier this evening, Winmore have signed a contract with the seniors. They're the new darts board supplier partner for WSD moving forward. Yes. Right, let's do a very, very quick fire questions in the chat room for a couple of minutes while I tell you that we are sorry for not discussing the PDC World Championships tonight. Phil spoke to me a couple of times earlier today. I basically said, it doesn't matter if you double up what you're going to say next week. Just make sure you got enough to fill this show. I think we managed that this evening. We haven't touched on it at all. We are hoping that the rest of the team are going to provide us with their predictions throughout, for the Paddy Power World Darts Championship, so we can drop them into our show next week. That reminder, that show will be live from the Prince Wales in Ilkeston. Keep an eye on our social media over the next couple of days to confirm start time, because I think we went a little bit earlier last time, slightly longer show, etc. So all of that will be available on there. If you are coming along, just make sure you drop one of us a message. Make sure we've got the room inside for you, because the Prince Wales is a fantastic pub, but it isn't the biggest pub in the world, and we need to make sure you guys can all see. But yes, indeed. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the chat room. One last thing, Champions Week at the Super Series started today. Darius Labanauskas, 5 from 5, living up to the early billing, played really, really nicely. It is a Champions Week that is absent of John Henderson and Jimmy Van Schie. John pulled out the moment he won, basically. He had events already pre-booked. The weekend just gone. And next weekend, whilst Jimmy Van Schie will start his quest to become the Lakeside World Champion tomorrow night at the Lakeside.
Are we going to do a Lakeside winner pick? Like, now, I know we're into it now. We did one last week, but are we going to...
I mean, we can do, because mine's Jimmy. I thought he was fantastic last week. He's playing beautifully. He's got this knack of firing in clutch checkouts in key moments. I've seen it firsthand often enough. His scoring power is beautiful. He's playing lovely. He's really confident. Winning last week was the icing on the cake for him. Just to answer that one quickly, James. So it's the runners-up throughout the entire series with the highest running averages. So the 2 players that were called up were Derek Coulson and Andy Bolton. The 12 players for Champions Week are placed into groups based on their averages as well. But if you are a call-up and didn't win your week, then your average basically gets scrapped in that conversation and you start from Group C. So, yeah, my pick for Lakeside men's title is Jimmy Van Schie. In the ladies...
I picked him last week. I'm not changing.
Yeah, in the ladies, that 1 to 6 looks fantastic value, given the fact that one of the only players who has beaten Bo double figure of occasions was beaten by Sophie McKinley last night, 2-1. Lisa Ashton suffering a shock early exit at the Lakeside. We do need to talk about one other person as well, actually. I think Dan may have just clicked on that, wearing one of them. Not just his shirt. I saw you were wearing it earlier, but Matt Edgar did.
Rumor has it
Saturday
Rumour
night
has it-
against Jarno Bottenberg.
There is a rumour going around that Matt Edgar's going to start wearing Dan Simpson shirts on his stream, just to level the playing field a bit.
You're going to nick your lanyards for work. And just...
Yeah.
But yeah, Matt was one of the more high-profile players taking part. Unfortunately, beaten by Jarno Bottenberg in straight sets. Still struggling a little bit with his injury.
Superb shirt though, definitely worth. Like genuinely, I enjoyed that more than I have enjoyed virtually any shirt in the history of darts. Immediately in the top 5.
Yeah, I assume you've spent the entire time since you saw it trying to get your hands on one.
Well, I'm trying to get my hands on that one. Like,
Yeah.
I ain't wearing this. I ain't wearing this as a fashion statement. Like, this is a call to. I am the only man in Britain that has more Matt Edgar shirts than Matt Edgar, and the best one of the lot is missing from the collection. So, like, Matt, I'm in Ilkeston.
Live on TikTok earlier as well.
I'm in Ilkeston next Monday, and I've got a posh pen.
I think this is a fair point. I think it's a fair point from Rob. I think it being the end pen and too much. Matt's not confirmed it, but I think if you look at the way he was tweeting the day after, the fact he's been struggling with injury, the fact that a lot of emphasis was put on just getting to Lakeside to play and be able to say that he's played on both World Championship stages, I think there's something to be considered for Matt if he wants to keep going through it. He's having a fantastic early start to a career in broadcasting that I think will go from strength to strength as well. As I think Glenn Durrant may well be in a similar position. Again, not confirmed by any stretch of the imagination, but
other than Glenn repeatedly saying he's thrown his last ever competitive dart, and then within a month throwing another competitive dart. Every month this year.
I think you have those moments, though, don't you, where you miss it or you miss that raw and you get the chance. Things like the influencer event yesterday. Duzza loved it. He was absolutely reveling in it. He poured the Duzza shuffle back out, but then I'm seeing him in the practice room before he's going out and going, I can't let go of him. I can't get my throw to where it needs to be. It's frustrating. This isn't going away. And he's still playing the final. It's a bit of fun. Had the opportunity. Will he throw a dart in anger again? I think is a completely different conversation. Will you still be able to go and see Glenn Durrant play an exhibition and have a bit of fun and show off and tell a few stories and prat around with you? 100%. Will you see Glenn Durrant competing for a world title at Lakeside anytime soon? No. And that's okay.
Yeah, but also, if I get, and I've said it, I feel like I should get that on a t-shirt. Like, he's earned the right, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Like, he's earned the right to do whatever he wants. And if people are willing to pay to watch him chuck a dart in an exhibition, then brilliant, good on him, because he's earned it. But but by the same token, he owes nobody anything. And if he has got to a point where, playing at a competitive, playing those competitions, playing the big seniors events, playing on TV in a competitive match for a trophy, is not what, or he's not able to either motivate himself, or it's not just what he wants out of life anymore, then he's earned the right to toss it off and do something he enjoys. Yeah. He's not enjoying darts.
Indeed. Right, this show has been a little bit negative throughout the evening. We apologise for that. But look, plenty of darts news. We're here to react to that and give our thoughts on that. That's what this show is about. But we are going to end on a positive note. Paula Jacqueline's traditional rocking up without a set. She did win a leg this time. She took one leg off Paula Murphy, but beat it in straight sets down at Lakeside. Every week.
How many darts that leg take?
Every week. I don't know.
I know. It was 27.
140 what?
Every week. Right, that is the end of tonight's show. We really do appreciate all of you tuning in. A reminder, there's plenty of content coming your way ahead of the Paddy Power World Darts Championship on our YouTube channel. Phil's been collecting interviews from here, there, and everywhere, up and down the country, from exhibitions and events.
He's been cancelled from watching the show for I'm a Celebrity.
No, she started watching it on her phone, which is fantastic. Should we carry on for another hour for him?
We apologise today. Sorry, Lisa. Hands up, it was us. Really appreciate everybody in the chat for joining us. Reminder, this time next week, we will be wrapping up our Live Lounge Live, which sounds silly every time we say it. We need a better name for that. But we will be in person all together at the Prince of Wales in Ilkeston. If you do want to pop along, make sure you drop us a message on social media. Just let us know you're going to be there. If not, same time, same place, same fantastic YouTube channel. Maybe a little bit earlier, actually. Ignore that same time.
It's not the same time. It's 7:30, Rob.
Don't worry about that bit. But we'll be here in person, or we'll still be on your screens. This is such an poor ending to the show. But basically,
this ending's as negative as the rest of the show's been.
Like the stream, subscribe to the channel, go and check us out on all our social medias.
Next week's the best show of the year, I promise.
Yeah. Where we've got some fantastic plans ahead of the Paddy Power World Darts Championship. We'll also give a quick review of the WDF World Championship at the Lakeside this time next Monday, and be joined by some fantastic guests as well. One of those being Jarlath Eaton. You might see him in front of a camera for 5 minutes. You know he loves to get that quiff in shot. But a big thank you to everybody that has joined in this evening, to Phil Bars for buggering off and letting us run loose, to not Phil at the bottom, he's in Holland, to Dan Simpson, and from myself. We really do appreciate all of you joining us throughout the evening. Take care, enjoy the darts, and we'll see you all very, very soon.
God,
Sounds.
out.
What?
You might want to end the stream.